All right, let's rock. Here we are, back again. All right, sponsors. We have Butch House MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, West Virginia's largest jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, judo, whatever it is that you want to learn, you can do it at Butch House, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA, LLC. Now you can get there. How? If you're on the web, go to advancedbkj.com, baby. Advancedbkj.com. Step your jiu-jitsu up. All right, somebody put their hands on you. Oh. Who else? Amdreamo.com. What is Amdreamo? I don't know. Oh, yeah. They're going to help you with your fan base, okay? Because you're getting tired of just playing the songs for your mom. All right, your mom, she's not telling you anything, okay? You can't take your mom to the venue and be like, all right, I got my fan with me. That's just not going to happen, all right? They're not going to pay. They're going to be like, all right, you got one? All right, free, okay? Mom equals free. Brother equals free. Amdreamo equals at least $500. Okay, $500 a gig. That's the guarantee. That's not their guarantee. That's my guarantee. Okay, you go to Amdreamo. All right, you're gonna get $500 eventually per gig. All right, that money adds up, son. Also, Bo knows music. Now, we're fortunate enough to have a great musician. This is not me playing, you know. So we're fortunate enough to have an awesome musician with us today. So we're going to definitely be learning. Some stuff is going to be over my head, your head. But you can go to BoKnowsMusic.com and get caught up. Get caught up, son, at BoKnowsMusic.com. Cue the music. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast. All right.
Let me introduce you to Bo Miles, a unique and likable guy. Everyday life, friends and family makes up the artistry.
Here we are, back at it again. Okay, we have Jonathan Wesley.
Yo, what's going on? What's good, Bobo?
We have Fidlew is back with us again.
I just love it so much till I gotta hang, bro. I gotta hang.
Yeah, and we had such an awesome time, man, that last one. So I'm glad to have you back with us. So y'all definitely gonna be hearing a lot of Fidlew on the podcast. So
I got a lot to say, man.
yeah, see, and remember to talk into the mic, man. I spent like 2 weeks fixing up the art. Now y'all can't hear it.
What did I tell you about that, bro? You don't share your damaged issues with nobody, bro.
Keep the issues
They
at
can't-
home.
Look,
man.
they can't even hear it. You can't, because I put in that work. You can't even tell that there was an issue. Okay.
Word.
But that's why you are who you are.
Yeah, I wish.
Okay.
Bo Miles doing his thing, yeah.
So, as you guys can hear, John is a phenomenal keyboard player.
Yes,
we're going to just take whatever. I mean, give us a hymn. Or,
And he's a young star, man.
oh yeah,
He's a young star.
Yeah, man. He's definitely. He gave me my. Actually, you probably don't know this, but he gave me my first band experience. Like I've never played in a band, and he was like, "Yo, man,
Come on, you can do this.
Yeah,
you can do this.
Yeah, you know, that was my first. That was like my first band, man. So
Was he on bass?
yeah,
Okay.
he was on bass. Yeah, just he plays all the instruments. I only can play just the piano for money. But yeah, John.
That's a church thing, man.
I'm all right, man. I just try to keep it in the pocket, man, and just do what I do to the best of my ability.
That's what you got to do, bro.
That's what you gotta do.
Yeah, and remember, I was talking about those musicians that are raised in the church.
Yeah.
You know, and how.
Was you raised in the church, Jonathan?
Yes, I was raised in the church.
Take us back. Take us back to as far back as you want to go, and just tell us how.
How did you get started, man? Was you playing before when you started, or did you just decide to pick it up at church?
Well, I'm playing keys right now, but my main instrument, my love, is the drums. So I started out playing drums as a kid, and then I started playing keyboard maybe in piano when I was in junior high school, maybe like 8th or 9th grade. And then once I got into high school, I just kept with it, just kept playing or whatever. And but I was always playing the drums at church, never really playing the piano because we had a piano player. But I started actually playing. I was the minister of music when I turned 18. The bishop came to me. He was like, "Are you ready to start playing?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well, we need somebody. We don't have nobody right now." And he was like, so I told him I'd pray about it. I prayed about it. Came back to me. He said, "Are you ready?" I said, "No, but but I am willing to give it a try." So everything was in the key that I knew how to play everything in, and I was playing in C. So everything was in C. No matter what song it was, fast, slow, minor, major, it was gonna be in C. I was gonna get you to C. I didn't have transpose because we was playing on the organ, so I was playing in C, and eventually I started branching out and playing in other keys, but everything was in C, and they start singing praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord, everybody. But when I first started, it wasn't like it. It might have just been praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord. So I started off real simple, but I mean, I love classical music, and one of the first kind of classical tune I learned was what was it? Bob, you probably know it. Was it? That one.
Oh, all right, Moonlight Sonata. Yeah, Beethoven.
And I'm not even playing in the right key, I don't think. Let me see. What key is it in?
Should be C sharp minor, but you're starting on that A flat. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I can't even remember, but I used to be able to kill that tune, right? And I just knew that part.
And you just learned it from ear?
Yeah, just from ear. I was just playing around with it. I'm saying. And then I started like, what, man, this thing got to be. And I was like, hey, that sounds good. And then just, and then it just kind of, I didn't know I was playing in C minor. I just knew that I knew where to go, when I was playing the song. But, that's how I started, man. I started out in the church, playing the organ, not playing the keyboard. With transpose, started playing the organ. And so I had to learn how to play in different keys, and I still don't play the best in all the keys. I don't know all the same chord changes that I, would know in a favorite key, like D flat or A flat or something like that. And even the keys that I started out playing in, I can't even do all the same chords I can play, So, but I'm always learning, man. Always learning, always thinking, always seeking knowledge and just trying to perfect this gift, that God has given me. And
I understand you're trying to play the bass too, man.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to play the bass. I've been playing bass because I know you are a phenomenal bass player. But I've been playing the bass probably about 5 or 6 years on and off. I started playing bass because my band Inspiration needed a bass player, and we didn't have a bass player at the time. I said, you know what, I'm gonna learn how to play the bass. So I had my dad buy me a bass for Christmas one year, and he's like, well, what do you want? I said, man, just give me a bass. And he took me to the pawn shop. I bought me a cheap 5-string bass, and just started plucking around with it. And it was a Samick, black Samick. And
I remember that bass.
Mm-hmm. And
because you played at wasn't it Jamie's wedding?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. He was up there playing.
Oh yeah, I did play it. That's Jamie P. Remember we had him on there,
and that was out at the country
some country club.
Country club.
Yeah, man.
Out in Poca, right?
Oh yeah, what was it? Did he have it at Wellington's? Or he had it somewhere else? It might have been. I forgot. But I do remember.
Set.
Yeah, I remember.
It was a real nice set.
Yeah, I do remember. It was nice.
Because I was like, who's that little guy up there think he?
Yeah, I wasn't doing nothing.
Actually, you were sounding great, brother. Yeah. I had to give it to you. And you know what? I find I do a lot of observation. I sit back in the cut and I watch. But piano players who decide they want to switch over to bass, they end up being much, much better bass players than people who actually start out playing the bass.
Mm-hmm.
Guitar players who switch over to bass end up being better bass players than people who start out being playing bass. And that's because you have a better understanding of chord structure.
Right.
Most bass players, all they want to do is find a 1, 3, and a 5, and that's all they're gonna work with. Okay.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that, and I think that because I was a drummer, it helped with my rhythm in playing the bass,
right.
And because I can play the piano, it helps like finding the right place in the chord,
right.
Not always necessarily the root note.
You can play the 5 to 7,
mm-hmm.
the 9 to 13.
Yeah, man, the drums like that. And I think a lot of gospel players who play the piano and the organ, like they come from the ones that I know that comes from the drums, who at least formed a nice foundation on the drums.
Right.
Yeah, that rhythm.
I mean, just that foundation. And when I say foundation and rhythm, I mean that you can do it without thinking about it. Like those rhythms and the beats and the different things that you guys can do. Yeah, and not even think. Like I have to think. Like okay,
1 E and the 2 E.
Yeah. Like that's how I learned rhythm. Yeah, and it's like, oh, I need to get away from that and just like.
So it's like finding the groove. It's being able to fit in the groove of whoever you're playing with. Be able to fit in with that group, with that team, and just play your part. And then when it's time for you to solo or to be able to come out and play, and then also to be able to to back out of it. So
okay, yeah. Can I ask you, what defines a good gospel musician? There are gospel players and there are gospel players. There's certain genres like East Coast, West Coast, Middle Coast, Dirty South, West Virginia. Mm-hmm. What defines the demarcation between them? Is it the chord structures they like to play or what?
No, when you're dealing with gospel, okay, and then you're dealing with Christianity, right? So once we get into that, I would say a good gospel musician has a good foundation in Christianity, first of all, in Christ, and has that relationship first, and like regardless of the music,
mm-hmm.
Can you relate to the lyrical content
mm-hmm.
of the music, right? Because when you're doing gospel, you're talking about the lyrics. Because if I take a song and take the lyrics out, it could be hip hop, gospel, jazz, blues, R&B. So when you add the lyrical content,
mm-hmm.
is what I think a good gospel musician can relate to the lyrical content,
okay.
And then also be able to, in the musicianship side of it, to be able to play it
mm-hmm.
and make it sound traditional,
right?
you know,
or contemporary.
You know, because you have contemporary gospel, you have, you know, the contemporary Christian music, you have you know, Southern gospel, like you were saying, it's different.
Now, see, man, when I went to when I was in New York and I went to a church in Brooklyn, right? Now, I went to this church and they had a musician. Their musician, he went to what's that school? Juilliard. That's what's up in New York, right? So he was a young guy. I want to say his name is Bradley. If it's not and you're listening, you're like, no, it's Tommy. I'm sorry, Tommy. But
Tommy Mottola.
yeah. But Bradley went to Juilliard, and man, he was a phenomenal musician. Like, dude could play it, and just when you say that you go to Juilliard,
You're supposed to be able to throw down.
yeah, already. Like, you guys are already like, oh, all right, dude went to Juilliard, right? Now, I got up and I played Jesus, just Jesus, how I love calling your name, right? I played that, and the pastor's wife, because, you know, I'm playing in the West Virginia style. This is who taught me. You know, James Carter taught me the song, so I'm playing it like him. And you could just see her face.
Define who James Carter is for everybody.
I mean, he's a musician. He's a gospel musician down in here in this area, and he's the local, so he has that regional sound. I don't know how regional it is, but the whole idea was that the pastor's wife, when she heard the song, yeah, you good, man, don't worry about it. When she heard the song and she heard the way that I played it, I mean, it just took her to a place that she just felt like at home and like, yeah, this is what I want to hear. Like, you know, however I was playing was touching her.
So you had that West Virginia flavor. That
and she didn't hear it from Bradley or Tommy or whatever, you know.
Well,
so that, you know, it was just it made me feel good. Like, I'm not like a dominant player down here in gospel music. There's other people.
You do all right.
I'm okay, but there's, you know, there's some people like John Wesley and other musicians who can really, you know, like they grew up with the language, so they can speak it, you know.
Right. And music is a language.
Yeah. They grew up with it,
and
the dialect.
Just like we have dialects, northern and southern dialects, they have dialect in music.
Yeah. So, you know, I just felt like that made me feel good for her to hear this West Virginia dialect in the gospel music, and for her to like really just go home to feel like it was something rich in it, you know. Whereas, and there's nothing against dude, because dude was killing. Like,
that's how you wanted to play, but you were playing the way for the venue.
Yeah,
like,
well, I didn't play for anybody.
Well,
I just played.
Let me tell you something. There are people who have PhDs in music can't play a lick of jazz.
That's correct.
Okay? They can't play a lick of jazz. And jazz is probably the closest thing to original classical music out there. People don't understand it, don't recognize it as such. But jazz is very complicated.
Yeah, man, everything is like all the styles, all the instruments. There's always a level of
I'm not knocking anybody, but
and,
I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I love jazz. I love jazz as well, man.
I know you,
and I appreciate.
And I know you like some rap too, but
yeah. I mean, that's my foundation. Like, my foundation in music is rap. Like, that's what, you know, like my brother and everybody around me, that's what we listen to. And I used to wait for I think it was like something raps, like it did, because I didn't even have cable.
Was it MTV? It was
MTV
raps.
Yeah, it was something like that. But see, I didn't have cable, so it came on regular TV back home in Baltimore. It just came on like Fox or whatever, you know, once in a blue moon. Like, you didn't even have a schedule like every Saturday it's coming on. No,
right.
Like when it comes on, you better be happy because you're not gonna see it.
Because you're not gonna get it any other time.
Yeah, so we had that, man, and I remember like LL Cool J and NWA, like that stuff coming on, and you know, like that's my foundation in music is rap, you know. So I have it's very dear to me, but the production of rap, like a lot of the music that I listened to, they had jazz samples, you know, because Q-Tip, the producer, he, like, that's what he perfected, really, because that's what he said. That's what his dad had. That's what his family had was Miles Davis and Coltrane and Sonny Rollins. They had those albums, so that's what he listened to, and he was just cutting it up. And so when you hear like the early '90s New York hip hop, like you're gonna hear a ton of jazz samples and like horn riffs. It's like, man, like I wanna make that music. You know, like that music just resonated with me. You know.
Yeah, like I'm still growing with my jazz. You know, I'm most comfortable in gospel, but I'm growing with my jazz and chord structures and different things like that. But a lot of what I do in the gospel correlates and relates, you know, when I'm playing jazz. And when I first started off playing like jazz music, I was playing bass. And I was playing bass because my band, which was a gospel jazz band, needed a bass player. So you know, transferring back to playing keys more often now, I'm finding myself, you know, having to relearn, you know, jazz tunes and standards, you know, on the keys versus, you know, playing them on the bass. Because like, hey, you give me a chord chart with the bass, and I can play the bass, you know, but then going back and having to read the chord chart for keys, I'm like, man, C minor flat 7, like, what is that again? Jeez Louise, you know. And so I have to go back and get my chord chart book out, look at my, you know, big 300-page book, like, okay, well, that chord, okay, now I got it, you know, and I'm learning, you know.
You got a copy of that, don't you, Bobby?
Yeah. You did hook me up with a copy. I guess that's
it's a chord chart book, or
well, it's it'll tell you the
1,000
different chords
chords.
and how
Oh, wow.
and how to play them, like the different hand structures that you could do.
Okay.
You know,
I need to get a copy of that.
Pictorial.
Then.
Yeah, it's pictures. And see, man, like this is
that's what we need these days, bro. We need. I need a picture book.
Like, and look, man, this is how they used to do it. Like before there was YouTube,
Right.
Like
buy a book.
the great musicians, man, they had VHS tapes and they had picture chord books,
Reel to reels.
Right. Yeah.
and it was a secret because like you didn't even know that this is how they got good. You just knew like, yo, dude is killing. I don't know where it's coming from.
Where did he get
Woodshedding, man. Woodshedding.
Yeah, woodshedding based off of those tapes. Like it just didn't come from just out of thin air. Like,
Right.
Nobody created anything, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's done a long time ago.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and see, man, and that's like even some of the stuff that you were playing a little bit ago, like that's like that dialect that I'm talking about,
Right.
because some of our listeners who are gospel musicians, like when they hear you, they can hear like, yo, dude is playing different from how I'm playing,
Right.
you know, and that's an awesome thing. Now, if you don't know the music and you're just hearing gospel music for the first time, black gospel music, you know, because you might grew up in a white church or something, right? So then it all sounds like, you know what I mean? It all sounds like, oh man, it's all like black gospel music. But the deeper you get, then you can really detect and distinguish the different dialects, and that's something that's just crazy to think about.
You know, I got this. I'm an avid fan of just listen to what other musicians do, and I got this online. I got this thing from Andrew Goucher, and he talks about very similar background as Wes.
Right.
That he started out on drums. Pastor put him on drums. He said, "Okay, go over there and I'll play that bass," and he stayed on bass. And the rest is history. And he basically said he was like one of the forerunners of gospel bass, because he didn't have anybody to emulate from, so he had to figure it out, create it himself.
Right.
So now let me ask you, what's so different about a chord structure you play from somebody who's playing classical music? I mean, a C minor 7 is a C minor 7.
Yeah, but see, classical music is not the way it's taught. Classical music is not taught for you to understand the structure right away. Like when you first get in, you learn the song. You don't learn the progression. You learn the song, right? Let's say it's Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata that John picked up by ear, right? So you learn that. Now, you don't learn the structure that it starts on the 1 and then he does some interchanges. Like, you don't learn that in classical music. You just learn how to play.
So you're basically aping.
What is that?
If you teach a monkey how to do something, and he just repeats it and repeats it.
Yeah. So you because you learn that first.
Because I'm gonna tell you,
then you learn
I played
the theory behind it.
I played string bass, and I started out playing classical. I played all the way through high school and part way through college. Didn't know how to solo. Didn't understand what I was doing. I could read the charts. I could read the notes. I knew what the notes were, but it was the most frustrating part of my life as a musician.
Yeah.
So in this is one thing that I my philosophy and what I've learned, even through teaching throughout the year, throughout my long 33-year-old life, but what I found is we say music is a language.
Yes.
You learn music as a language. You can speak it. You learn this new language, right? But we don't teach music like we learn language,
Right?
Because like Bobby was just saying, he was learning
Phonetics.
the notes and he don't even know the theory behind it. But you knew how to say dad, mom, stop, no before you even knew what a P, a D, an A, the letter A looked like. I don't know what D-A-D is or what it looks like, but I can say it.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
So my philosophy is if I can teach you how to say C minor 7,
Mm-hmm.
let me just teach you how to say it first and then start speaking it. Just keep speaking that C minor 7 and it just gets good to you. And then I'm like, hey, guess what? This is what it looks like. And then you're like, oh man, that's what it looks like. So I already know what it is.
You know what? For years, I kept asking people, what's the difference between a C major and a C minor?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody would tell me. And I finally figured it out. It's just a flat third.
For real,
Right. Yeah, but that's my thing. It's like we want to teach it like a language, but we don't teach kids how to speak the language. It's like, hey, I want to teach you how to read,
Yeah.
but you can't even talk. And then you're doing all this reading, and you can't have a conversation with other musicians.
Yeah.
If we're in a jam session, conversating through music, and I turn to you and be like, bruh, speak something to me. Can you give me something to read? No, I want to hear what's on your heart.
Yep.
Can you?
What key am I in, bro?
Well, what key we in? No, for real. Like, can you just off the top of your head, just give me one sentence.
Bro, I didn't bring my charts with me.
You can't even say a sentence without having to read a manual, a piece of paper that keeps you inside of this box.
And we're talking about people who've been taking music for like 10 years.
No, I'm talking about doctors, 30-year, 40-year
Yes.
veterans.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
But you know what I find though? A lot of the accomplished musicians, they're not willing to share.
Right.
They hold back, and music belongs to everybody. I
Right.
mean, if you great, you gonna get yours.
Right.
Yeah, but the disconnect between because when we think of accomplished musicians, we're not talking about classical musicians now.
Okay. Anytime I talk about an accomplished musician, I'm talking about a jazz musician. That's all that exists in my world. I'm
I
sorry.
understand.
because like, and I'm not really sure why, but people treat classical music like Latin language.
Well, you know what? Actually, it is. It's like Old English.
Yeah, I guess.
Uh-huh. It is. It's
Because it's taught to where you don't speak it.
But now here's a caveat for you.
It's taught for you just to read it.
No, here's a caveat for you. It's you try to interpret what the original composer did. But Coltrane, all the greats, they go back to that stuff and they pick out the modes and stuff and work with it.
Yeah, but they don't speak it. You always read classical.
Okay, it's just like you go down to Charleston to the Capitol. We saying the same thing, but we have a different dialect in saying it.
Yeah, it's kind of like dialect, but I see classical as different than dialect because
classic doesn't offer any leeway. You have to play that note. If it's a C on that chart, you better play a C.
Yeah, and that's the bottom level of classical music. Like that's what you're gonna have. Whereas when we say dialect, we say that okay, we all know this song. We all know Down at the Cross, but we all gonna play it different, right? But when we talk about classical and jazz, this is like we're not playing the same songs.
No,
we're not playing the same progressions. We're not doing it. Like only the foundation is the same. That okay, we're speaking from our mouth, but the language is totally different.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like
and like right now, John's playing that, and if I play it, it's gonna sound different.
You hooked up, man?
Nah.
You ain't hook him up, John?
We couldn't figure it out. Like we couldn't figure out how we can get sound from it, you know. But and I'm a horrible organ player. We would have to change spots.
It's cool.
Cause you know, and little Cordell will be like, "Oh man, get him off the organ." But yeah, man, classical music, and you know, there is stuff to be learned from. Yeah, here's a little bit of sound up here, but there is stuff to be learned from classical musicians.
Well, it's the foundation.
And
but they rely on theory and harmony. Those classes to get to, if they decide they want to start composing. Everybody's not a composer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and but see, that's just like a restriction from the music. Like that's like still a restriction from its time when it was created, because the whole idea of classical music is that someone gives you the music,
a sheet of music.
Nah, like someone gives you music. Period. Like you don't hear music until I give it to you. Whereas when we talk about jazz, we're talking about music from a democracy. Hey, you have something to say? Come on in here. Let me hear it. You have something to say? Say it. Like let's hear it. Let's hear, and whoever's has the better ideas, we'll follow him. We'll say like, hey man, he's killing. Let's follow it. But in classical music, because they come from kings and rulership, that's how the music was handed down. That's how the music was delivered.
Aristocracy.
Yeah. You know, like only a select few can even do this. You know.
Well, they originally were designed to entertain, to keep the king entertained and the court entertained.
Yeah. Like you know, like look, if you can write music, you writing this for the king, and the king and his family heard it. Other people didn't hear it.
No.
You know,
the dukes and the earls got to hear it, but.
Yeah, but like regular dudes like me, if I was back then, I wouldn't have heard it. You know, I wouldn't have heard Mozart and his music, like unless I heard it outside of somewhere.
Well, when you was picking up the dirty plates.
Yeah. And that was good enough, you know, enough for me to be like, hey man, I wish I could play it, you know. But that element of the culture was in the music to like, okay, I'm gonna give this to you, you know, I'm gonna give it to you, and then even to where, okay, you learn how to play this music, learn how to play this song, and one day when you decide you want to be a composer, then I'll teach you how to speak.
You know,
when you prove yourself worthy.
In jazz, you don't even have to have an instrument or play an instrument to be a jazz enthusiast, or, you know?
Yeah. Because
you know what they're doing. And jazz touches your spirit like gospel do. They both touch your spirit. They're so close till they're almost one. It's just there's a fine line between gospel and jazz, and it's the little inflections that makes the difference.
Yeah.
Now I have heard some classical pieces that have made me feel a certain way. Like they write music to make you feel a certain way also, right. But it's not as impromptu. Like you feel what he's feeling maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. How long did it take him to write this symphony or this piece of music? Versus like the newer age orchestral or classical music you might hear like on a score for a movie or something like that. It's kind of like these writers are writing quicker, writing stuff faster, and it's getting to the public quicker. So it's kind of, but it's still not as impulsive or improvised as gospel and jazz. But when I listen to it, like for example, I was listening to I was watching some movie but like the scores to like the Lord of the Rings or scores like to these type of movies, you listen to it, man, you really feel the battle. Like you really feel it. Like you really feel the spirit of Gondor or whatever coming through. It's like, man, like, I can feel that. That's scary, Yeah. And it's just so big. And then and vice versa, you look to a jazz person, man, you like, man, I can tell this brother is playing his heart out. Like something going on at home. Like what is going on? I got one brother, I could always tell when something was going on because he would beat the living daylights out of a set of drums. And I'm like, bruh, like you was beating them drums like it was no tomorrow.
They stole your French
like
fries.
Something is going on, but like, bro, I'm praying for you. Like I don't know what's happening going on in your life right now, but I'm praying for you, bro, because you took out so much vengeance, and I mean, killed the whole night. He would kill the whole night, but you can always tell with gospel and jazz, like right then, I can tell what's on your mind right now. So.
Yeah, and
if you ain't feeling the set,
if you ain't feeling it shows.
Yeah, and like classical music is not, like I said, man, it's just like Latin. Like it's not a living language in the sense that no one speaks it. Now because back then they could improvise. Like Beethoven improvised, Mozart, Chopin, Liszt, like all of those guys. And the ones even today who write the symphonies and for movie scores and some video games and stuff, like they can improvise in that style, right? But it's nothing being created. It's not the same as like if I play like someone, right? Let's say it's Coltrane, right? I really like I love Coltrane. On the sax, like I love Coltrane. He's like my number one. Now, if I get a saxophone, I learn how to play, and then I learn how to play like Coltrane. So when you hear me, you say like, yeah, he's playing like Coltrane.
He listens to Coltrane.
Yeah, like he listens to Coltrane. He's playing like Coltrane, and that's something different. Where like when I hear Reverend Bosley, I'm not thinking of Coltrane. Right. You know what I mean? And that's the difference between a live language and a struggle. I'm not gonna say it's dead because. Dead means that it's it's done. Living. Yeah, it's not living, and it does live, but it's just real constrained.
Well, you know what though, the difference between classical and modern day music is that the classical stuff may be played once, twice a year, whereas modern jazz musicians they play 3 sets a night, 6 days a week, so they have to improvise to keep it interesting to them. That's probably.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's probably one of the big differences. What do you think about that, sir?
You need to fix that mic.
You can't hear me, man. Microphone check 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, that's good. I'm not trying to get a repeat, but man. But I agree, man. I definitely agree with you that the way that our culture over here in America. We just play jazz. Like we play it. Gospel music, you play it. You listen to it, you learn it, you play it. Gospel music, you listen, learn, and play it. Rap, you listen, learn, you play it, right? And that's what's going on. You play it through you yourself, right? You constantly working on it. So like that music is constantly thriving. Now I know that it's still going on the classical circuit, but the way that it is on the classical circuit, it's like it still was 400 years ago, where it's only like the people in the conservatories that's really, like, oh, dude went to a conservatory, or like in order for you to be a famous classical musician, right? You have to. It's about what conservatory you went to. Yeah. Europe. Did you play in Europe? Did you play in India? Like. playing across the world. You can play.
Juilliard.
Yeah, like, you know, it's like conservatories. And then it's about you, okay, can you play the whole Bach,
By
whatever,
heart.
you know.
Without the music.
Yeah, like the well-tempered clavier, right? 24 pieces. Can you play all of those really well? And then after that, then, okay, now what do you have? You know what I mean? It's like, it's just so much restriction on it. And it doesn't have to be that way. Like,
Well,
it really doesn't.
They're trying to preserve the classics. That's the thing. You play it note by note. Whatever the notation says, whatever the inflections you have to make, whatever piano forte, if they say forte,
Yeah.
that's what you got to play.
Yeah. And man, and there's some technical monsters, like a top level classical pianist. Like, it's unreal. Like the way that they touch, just
they're so
the
rigid,
control.
man. They're just so rigid.
Man.
They're not creating. They're just they're human
rehearsed. They're rehearsed.
Yes.
Like super well rehearsed.
Yeah.
8 hours a day.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Yeah. Like,
You know,
look, man,
there's nothing
super,
wrong with that.
Like, it's unreal.
I wish I had if I had 8 hours to just practice, they'd have to add it on to 24 hours a day.
Did y'all see the movie The Violinist? It was about 3 or 4 years ago. This guy, he was walking through California with aluminum foil on his.
Is that the Jamie Foxx one? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of, like, I don't really remember too much.
Check this out.
Go ahead, give us
I
a
know
quick
the
one.
real guy. He went to John Hay High School in Cleveland, Ohio with me. Well, he had already graduated when I got there, but he went to Juilliard School of Music, and I was playing string bass there, and he borrowed my bass. It didn't come back, but he borrowed it. It was the school's bass, but he was losing it back then, man. This was back in 72. So how he got in California, his mother didn't even know how he got out there, man.
Yeah,
So this stuff, this ain't nothing to play with, man. If your man ain't right, you better leave this music alone.
yeah. I mean, but you know, it just takes like an obsessive person, a compulsive, obsessive person to really, you know, dive into this, man. You think about it, how many times, John, have you played the C minor chord? You know,
Right.
like
A lot. Not necessarily like this, you know, but I played a C minor a lot. You know.
yeah, like that one. Like, you figure, like, or take something that you know very well. Like, how many times have you played it? Like, now, right now, it's built on so many systems, right? It's so many systems that you own that you just kind of moving them around, and it's just like, yeah, I don't spend a lot of time on it. But in order for you to got to that point, it took a lot. You know, it took a lot of time. It took a lot of practice.
You gotta love this stuff, man.
Yeah.
There's another guy who went to high school with me. This music messes with you. He was a phenomenal bass player. He could play just like Stanley Clarke back in the day. He couldn't slap or thump. But he when he graduated, his parents bought him $1,000 back then. This is when the Alembic was like $1,000. I mean, you can get a cheap Fender now for $1,000. But he went to New York and he was trying to make it. I saw him like a year later, man. He had lost his mind. So what's happening with the music when you try to make it big, man?
Yeah, man. Like, I can speak
Come on. See, you're there, Jonathan. So tell me, what happens to make an individual lose his mind over this music?
They get consumed by it. It consumes their whole life, consumes their whole being, and then it just consumes their mind. I'm the first one to admit that, you know, maybe not the first one, but I'm not as diligent as a practicer or rehearser that I would like to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when it comes to playing, you know, I can get lazy at times and be like, and I can just rely on my ear and my gift, you know, to just be like, oh, man, I'll pick it up. I don't want to learn it. And then it comes out lazy and sloppy, and it sounds like, man, this guy ain't rehearsed. But if I take the time, spend on it, rehearse it, practice it, and it's like, man, this guy, he's rehearsed, he sounds good, sounds practiced. I just wish I had, more time. And like, music is right now, music is what I do to pay the bills, if that makes any sense. Because like, it's not so as much as like I'm doing this because I just love to do it. Yeah, I'm playing music because I just love music, and I want to get back to that.
It's your hustle,
right? It's more of a hustle for me right now, which means I probably should be practicing more. I should be perfecting it more, but I'm too busy teaching, teaching kids, teaching students. I'm too busy, learning and teaching songs to the mass choir, male chorus, and praise teams. And then it's kind of like, when do I have time to really get back to, what I love to do, like making, writing, and producing music. It's kind of put on that back burner right now. It's still burning. It's still on. It's on simmer. It's on. But it's just not on 7 or 8 right now.
That's interesting to me because I've been a practicing engineer for 35 years, and I'm bored with it. I'm tired with it. There's nothing I haven't done as far as engineering is concerned. But music, sometimes I feel like just quitting my job, my day job, where I'm making my money and I make good money,
right? Just
to practice, just to touch. I won't go to bed unless I touch my axe. Mm-hmm. I won't go to bed if it's just 5 minutes. I gotta touch it. I gotta feel it. So I guess.
And I want to be able to get back to that, because like I'm doing music like all day anyway, but it's not really what I want to do.
But you have to discipline yourself. I told another young musician that, if you got to practice, if a girl giving you problems about practicing while you head home with the family, wait till she take her butt to bed and then practice from like 1 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock and then go and crawl back in that bed.
Right.
But, if that's what you love, you cannot let anybody take away from you what you love. Right. And I'm going to have to tell you, I was married before, and to someone else. She couldn't stand me playing. So I gave up my music and my instrument for like 12 years just to keep her happy. I wasn't happy.
Right.
But just to keep her happy. So you have to decide what's important to you.
Right.
I got a beautiful daughter, but
yeah. And another thing for insanity, like music wise, is when you really think about it, it's you by yourself practicing. Those guys, it's just them. They're just practicing nonstop, right?
Yeah.
You're like I said, I mean, you're consumed by it. You're impulsive, right? It's just, this is what you're thinking about, right? At some point, it shifts, and you're no longer the man or the woman. You're no longer, it's now some other person that's now, killing, and that weighs on a musician, especially if you've been.
You become a very selfish, vain person because all the attention's on you.
Right.
But here's the thing, though. How can those little Asian kids at 6 years old be proficient on a piano, playing that classical stuff, and you've got people that's been practicing 30 years? I mean, proficiently practicing. And these little kids, they use some method, and they blowing everybody out the water.
Yeah, man. Because like the classical teachings work, and what you got to understand, right? And we're talking about the top levels, like we're talking about people who are in conservatories, right? Like they learn, like it's certain things, certain tricks and things that they teach those kids that we don't see it. We don't understand it. Like we never get exposed to it. So we're like, oh man, how are they killing it? But it's just a certain way that they're delivering the information.
Well, one thing about the Asian language, and I'm not slamming Asians or anything like that, their language are pictograms. So they're like memory experts. One of my college professors, he explained to me, he said, we're not super smart. We're just memory experts because our words are formed by little pictures. So you have to memorize all these thousands of pictures and learn how to put them together to make a sentence or write a paragraph. And I'm like, wow, he's right. And, you know, I tell people, you know, if you have to train yourself. You have to put your work in.
Oh, man, have you seen, I was watching it was a report on their math. I'm not sure if it was Japanese or Chinese, but it was showing their math and how they do math, right? So they first start off with, what's that instrument?
Abacus.
Abacus, right? I don't even know how to use it, but
it's easy,
right? So they learn how to use it, and they you gotta.
It's easy coming from the engineer. Anyway,
yeah, right, right. So check this out, man. Look, so they learn using this instrument, right? What is it called again?
Abacus.
The abacus. All right, I gotta remember that. The abacus. So, so they're in kindergarten, right? And they're using this thing, and they're using it for like multiplication, like they learn how to use the multiplication. So what happens is by the time they're in the first grade, they can mentally see it. So now they can just use their fingers to move this imaginary abacus, right? And they showing it and they're blazing through it. It's like top level multiplication, right? And they're in their hands, and then eventually they can move their hands away and they can just visually see it. And they're just, using it. It's still in their mind. I mean, just think about that, man. Yeah. Like I said, I don't even know how to use it. I don't know how to use it. So we learn, okay, this is your two numbers. First, you memorize.
This is a 1.
Yeah, 1 times blank all the way up to top level kid is 12, right? 12 times he learns his 12 timetables, right? So 1 through 12 timetables, we memorize that chunk of it. Right, and then we go on, and then it's like, all right, now I can do math based on what I've memorized. But the way they're doing it, they're just memorizing like a method.
Well, here's a secret. Mathematics was originally invented so a sheep herder can keep tally of how many sheep he had. And if you look at all your forms of math, and we're digressing, but I just want to
it's never digressing.
but everything is counting. If you can count to 10, you can do any form of mathematics out there. And I try to explain that to people that multiplication 3 times 3 is you take 3, take 3 straws 3 times. That's multiplication. You got 9. You want to divide 3, you take It's division is undoing a multiplication. Subtracting is adding a negative number to it. So I tell people that I can't understand this. It's simple, man.
But see, man, we're not learning the principles like that. Like that's the main problem in the schools is the way that that they're teaching math, and you're not really learning. You're not really understanding the principles. You're not really learning how and why it's important, and that's why our students, they get to these points. It's like, well, man, I can't memorize that. I have a horrible memory. Well, you know what? You got a horrible memory. You're a horrible student. Like
you're exactly right. And you know what? When you get to college, they have a weeding out process. They have a weeding out process. When I was in engineering school, they weeded you out. They loaded you down with calculus, chemistry, physics, statics, thermodynamics. They loaded you down. And if you failed, you out. And you thought less of yourself. But all your sciences are based off of math. Calculus is nothing more than adding the areas under a curve to find out some values. That's all it is. It's just all summation or addition. It's no magic. I can take Bo Miles, and I can make him a math genius. It'd be hard, but
yeah, and math genius means that you're usually like 5. Like, I'm sorry, I know some of you guys, you're calling yourself geniuses. You're like 30, you're 40. you're 25, you're 19. No, that's not a genius. We just got to keep it real, all right? So you need to wake up. I don't care. Your dad told you was a genius. Your cousin told you was a genius. When you get Kanye, he believes he's a genius. Look, man, a genius is when it's flowing at like 3, 5.
Okay, but you know what though? You do have young kids who they consider as geniuses, but by the time they get to college, everybody catches up to them.
Yeah, but see, that's a fake. Like, that's just somebody manipulating a puppet, and you can see that, like, even in music and like people put, like, I could, and this is a decision that I did with my kids. Like, no, for real, I'm serious. Early on, I worked hard with their schooling, pushing them, and they got grades. They got the A's, right? As I relaxed up on it, the grades relaxed, right? Mm-hmm. Now, it's to the point now where it's like, look, I have to teach you
how to teach yourself.
Yeah, how to teach yourself. It's not just, I can just keep forcing you to get A's, but that's not going to help you in the long run. Mm-mm. It's like, look, let me show you. All right,
how to teach.
We need an answer. Let me show you how to get that answer. Mm-hmm. So then
it's the process.
Yeah, it's the process.
The process is what a lot of kids are lacking today. How it's like, here's the question, here's the answer. How do I get to that answer? They don't know the process of how to do it. And like, even with music, bringing it back to the music, I can have a kid, I can give a kid a lesson. Okay, I want you to practice this rudiment. It's the paradiddle. Right, left, right, left, left, right? Okay, so they get home. Okay, I know it was right, left, left. But how do I practice that? What is the process for me to get better for my next lesson? If we don't teach them that process, if we don't show them how to practice, a lot of people are not good because they don't know how to practice. And it's kind of like you just sitting there and you're playing the same thing over and over and over, and you're not getting any better. Because you don't know how to practice. You don't know the process of how to get better.
Well, practice don't make you better.
Right.
Perfect practice makes you better.
Right, but how do I do perfect practice? Just because I'm practicing doesn't mean I'm doing perfect practice.
Right.
I'm doing this. But this is not going to help me get to... You know what I mean? That's not doing that. What is the process to get to that? To practice it. So I think teaching our kids how to practice, teaching our kids how to process the information, how to get to the answer is the key, when it comes to instruction and teaching.
Well, part of the process should be to help them to understand why you're doing this, right, and what end result should you expect from it.
No, I agree, absolutely.
Yeah, because when you just play a scale, that C major scale. Okay, now what do I do with it? I can play it. Mm-hmm. Now what do I do with it, teacher? Well, that'll be in your next lesson. That's gonna be $35 next time.
Right, exactly.
And I know we gotta wrap up.
Okay,
but this is why I like jiu-jitsu so much. Okay, because
it's so funny.
Because it's real-time assessment. Your teacher can present the material to you, right? And he's going to present it in a watered-down way so that you can see it and comprehend it, right? Now, once you get into, and now you're rolling with someone, that means that you're tangled up and you are both grappling, trying to submit each other. At that moment, it's like, okay, let's say you get it or you don't get the choke, right? We're just going to say it's a choke. Let's say you don't get it.
So is that your ultimate goal, to get a chokehold on your opponent?
Well, you want to make him submit. You want him to tap out and say, like,
I give.
Yeah.
Uncle.
Like you got me. Like, you either going to break my arm, break my leg, my shoulder, or I'm going to pass out, right? So that's the end goal of it, right?
Okay.
Now, when they present it to you, if you get it or if you don't get it, you know, like, okay, I got to work on it, right? Now, let's say you work on just the basic way that he showed you, right? That's not enough.
Yeah, how do you apply it?
Yeah, how do you apply it? You know, how can you take what he showed you and apply it in a real-time match against somebody who's not trying to get choked out, who's trying to choke you out, who's trying to break, your arm. Yeah, like, how are you going to do that, right? Yeah. It just gives you a real-time assessment of your learning to where you can say, like, you know what, man, maybe I don't understand this. Maybe I think that I do, but I don't. And I think so much of when we talk about music, when you do that and you do that 100 times and you think like, man, I got it. All right, well, let's throw on Blue Bossa. Give me, you know, you don't even think like but it can work. But you never think about the placement of it because you're not taking it into the different environments. Right. You know, so that whatever you practice it, but put it in different environments, right? Put it in a different song. And that's the good thing about
start on
jazz.
A different note.
Yeah, start on a different note, right? But even if at the basic, just see if you can play that in every song that you know how to play. Even for a classical musician. Key. No, just every, you know, like, because we're talking about the very basics. You don't even know. You just know what's in front of you. I'm talking about a classical musician. If the piece is in F, you play it in F. If the piece is in C, you play it in C. If it's in A flat, you play it in A flat. But you don't really know it. You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't. That's not the key that you can just play anything from your mind in. You know. So I challenge you to play whatever it is, but play it in different environments. Whether it's or When the Saints Go Marching In, or Mary Had a Little Lamb. So let's say you play in Mary Had a Little Lamb, and then you play or When the Saints Go Marching In. Play both of them together. Like, find where, okay, I'm going to play first. I'm going to play Mary Had a Little Lamb, and then I'm going to continue to play or When the Saints Go Marching In.
That's
right?
Charlie Parker used to do that.
Yeah, like, yeah, that way you can assess if you really know it. Mm-hmm. If you have control over it, or does it have control over you?
Right.
You know.
Oh, it's got control over you no matter what.
You know.
Because everybody's seeking that high point.
Yeah. So, this is definitely a good session, and if we were at our thing, we would just keep running. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna.
Well, let's have Mr. Wesley have the last word now.
No, I'm gonna have the last word just because I gotta close it out. But
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, he can.
Now it's time to say goodbye to all my company. MICKEY MOUSE.
Mickey Mouse.
Nah, man, I'm just glad you got me on the podcast, man. I'm glad to be a part, man. I'm glad I can give you a little bit of insight.
Do you have an email address?
Yes, I do have an email. You can Facebook me.
Facebook
me, Jonathan Wesley at Facebook.com, I guess. My band, Inspiration Band. We on iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, everywhere there's digital music. We are out there. Just look under Inspiration Band, and you can find us as gospel jazz. And we also are on Facebook. You can also hit me up at Weesbeats at yahoo.com. That's WEESBEATS at yahoo.com for any music production, studio time. We do all that music stuff. So just hit me up on there, man.
It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate you guys having me on the cast.
What about Instagram or Twitter or any of that?
Instagram is also Weesbeats. I think on Instagram. I have a Twitter. I don't really use Twitter. I just check Facebook and Instagram every so often.
All right, so no doubt, y'all. There we have it. We have Jonathan Wesley. We have Fidlew over here. Another episode down the pipes. Remember our sponsors. We have Butch Howes, BJJ, and MMA LLC in Charleston, West Virginia. Charleston, West Virginia's largest black belt instructed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. We also, at advancedbkj.com. That's advancedbkj.com, baby.
And by the time this go up, my website gonna be up.
All right. Okay. So, yeah, he's not a sponsor, but yeah, drop it, man. Let us know. I mean, what's up? Where can we go?
Fidlew.com.
Oh, Fidlew.com. Get your instruments. He hand customized basses.
Engineering design.
Word.
Custom. Anything you can put on paper, I could make.
Yeah. See, so yeah, we'll definitely hit that up and talk more about that. But I want you guys to go over there, show them some love, buy the instruments, okay? Buy the instruments.
I got some really nice refurbished instruments that I'm getting away because I have an addiction. I see a broken bass, I have to fix it.
Word.
Okay, Wesley knows.
All right. We also are brought to you by Amdreamo Music at amdreamo.com. Build your fan base ASAP, okay? I'm getting tired of y'all doing these free gigs. You're getting tired of doing free gigs. Your mom is getting tired of you doing free gigs. That means amdreamo.com. Last but definitely not least, BoKnowsMusic.com. You don't understand what just happened this episode, go to BoKnowsMusic.com and get caught up. Do.